I'm Quinn Norton, and I'm here to talk to you about the fungible self. This is kind of the self that you make with body hacking. And I'm largely going to be talking today about body hacking and identity. But let's get to this term hacking, body hacking. This is, hacking means many, many things. It means breaking into computers, but it also means things like voiding the warranty on your iPhone to see what's inside. And that's really what we're talking about today. We're talking about voiding the warranty on your body to see how it works. So, unifying those meanings of hacking, this is enacting your will upon your body. The system that you're acting upon is yourself. So let's get right to where I began. In September of 2005, I heard about a group of body modification artists out of Phoenix, Arizona, who had devised a way of putting a small rare earth magnet in the tip of the offhand ring finger. They had coated it in a bio-neutral sheath of silicone, implant-grade silicone. What this was for was to allow you to have a sense for electromagnetic radiation, a sixth sense. And you know, when I heard about it, I was like, is this on the level? And I figured there's one way of finding out. And I journeyed to Phoenix and had the procedure done. Now, it'll take all of 10 minutes. I'll skip by this quickly since it has blood in it. But I had the procedure done. The results were quite remarkable. But the results realistically weren't entirely my finger. They were really in my brain. So what I did is, over the course of my days, I would begin to train with it. When I got up in the morning, I would pass my hand over my laptop and feel for the buzzes of electrical motors moving. I could pick out live electrical cords from ones that weren't active. And the thing that would consistently surprise me was phone cords, which I didn't expect. They don't have a lot of voltage, but they're not very well shielded. So occasionally I'd like stumble into a phone cord. Now, what was happening physiologically here? Well, I was remapping a portion of my brain to process this new sense. And I would say it didn't really feel like touch per se. It felt like something new. And probably I was remapping something around this area of the brain. But one of the really important parts of this, and really key to all body hacking and this self-modification, is this concept of neuroplasticity, is the fact that we reconfigure our brains on the fly throughout the course of our lives. There's been a lot of theorizing on why we're the animal with buildings and clothes and so on and so forth instead of all the others, and opposable thumbs, brain size and all that. But for my money, it's this. It's that we have this amazing neuroplasticity. It's that we are able to adapt to all sorts of different things. Because we're essentially able to remake what we are as a species continually through this flexibility. Now, why am I never going to help any of you get this? Well, about 2 months in, the bio-neutral sheath it was in breached. I got an infection, the body attacked the magnet. It became coated in scar tissue. And where I had once had a nifty new sense, this time I had a slightly painful black spot in my finger. Now, a lot of people have asked me, what about airport security and credit cards and all that? None of that was a problem. But I did develop an overwhelming fear of MRI machines. Magnetic resonance imaging uses a huge magnetic field to do human body imaging. And the theory, we don't know exactly what would have happened, but the theory is that I would have either set my finger on fire or actually pulled the magnet out of my finger. And eventually I had to get an MRI for a medical problem, and I went to a surgeon and had it removed. Now this is kind of important. It took 10 minutes to put the thing in. But after it had disintegrated my finger, it took a lot of effort from a hand surgeon to take it out. The most surprising thing about this, for me, was how heartbroken I was when I lost it. Because originally it was something I did for an article. But in the time that I'd had it, it insinuated itself into my identity. It became part of me, which I hadn't expected, not at all. And that's what really set me to looking for more of how these modifications to the body begin to make identity. And I have to tell you, if they solve the sheathing problem, I'm first in line to get it again. But to talk about what happened next, I want to talk about this guy. This is the 19th century poet, Walt Whitman. And he got right something that medical science is just working out now. He worked out the relationship between the self and the body. And what was he reacting to? Well, he was reacting to essentially the school of this guy. This is Descartes. And he talked a lot about mind-body duality. The body was this corruptible clock. And over here and intangible and disconnected was the mind and the soul. And so he had this idea that we had these two separate facets to ourselves. Well, it didn't really stand up to the test of time. But what did Whitman have that Descartes didn't? Well, Descartes spent his time in the courts of kings. Whitman was a nurse in the first modern war. He was a nurse in the Civil War. And in that war, he saw people in all states of their bodies. He saw them healthy, young, and vibrant. He saw them without their limbs. He saw them dead. He had his hands on people in all these different states, emotional and physical states. And he came in his time to postulate something that was literally obscene for the age, which was that the body was important and alterable, and that it was connected to who we were. And he wanted us to have power over that body. And he gave us a way to celebrate that connection, to celebrate the self. And this is one of my favorite poems. I See the Body Electric. And I really want to concentrate on that last line. And if the body were not the soul, what is the soul? And it's a beautiful, beautiful idea that we have to guide us through this process. The design of a self is a physical design. Because as Whitman anticipated, and as medical research and scientific research is telling us now, every thought is a physiological action, and every action influences our mind. They are not separate. And there's a ridiculously obvious case. There's a case of this that I love. It's a Gourmand syndrome. It's a rare syndrome. It causes people who have strokes usually, sometimes heart attacks, but usually strokes, to become foodies. People that had no interest in food suddenly become very, very keen on fine food and wines. And it's consistent, and it happens with a lesion in the same place. And if you are a foodie, and I am, you know that this is probably a pretty expensive lesion. Thus far, I would say insurance is not covering top-tier restaurants, which is unfortunate. So society, like we are the sum of our bodies, like we are the state of our bodies, society is the sum of our bodies. So what we do to our bodies, we do to society. And we're doing a lot these days. People from all walks of life are beginning to experiment in these spaces. They're athletes, they're normal, like everyday Joes, they're hackers, they're transgressive rebels. And they're inventing new ways and lots of new technologies to redefine them, sometimes to experience something new, sometimes to get ahead. So let's look at a few of these. Up here we have, one of my favorite examples is LASIK, which is becoming really common, but really is a powerful enhancement, and a powerful enhancement subject to the market rather than to medical triage. Extreme body modification. This is also an interesting process. As tattooing and piercing and all become more normal in society, the body modification people are pushing out. They're becoming incredibly innovative of new things that they can do with their bodies. They're inventing things that even the medical field doesn't have. And I would argue every woman with an IUD is a cyborg. You have an actual kind of mechanical modification allowing you to control your fertility. This last one is really interesting up here. There's a group of hackers who have started implanting ARFIDs. These are the same thing that people put in their pets to, they can kind of scan them with the pound and return them to you. But what they're doing is they're then modifying their computers and their doors and so on and so forth, so they can log into their computers with a wave of their hand. They can start their cars with a wave of the hand, and they can just go into their house kind of Star Trek style,